The sun was sinking low behind the red canyon walls when Cole Danner heard the sound, soft, broken, almost carried away by the wind. He pulled his horse to a stop, listening again. There it was, a woman's voice, strained with pain and stubborn pride. Cole followed the sound down toward the narrow stream, cutting through the rocks, where he saw her lying near the water's edge. A fallen branch had pinned her leg, and blood darkened the dust beneath her ankle. Still, her back was straight, her chin lifted, her dark eyes sharp and unafraid. For a moment, they simply stared at each other. She reached for a stone as if ready to defend herself. "Don't come closer," she warned, though her breath faltered. "I'm not here to hurt you," Cole said calmly, dismounting and raising his hands so she could see them. He moved slowly, carefully, reading the tension in her body like a wild animal caught in a trap. With one strong pull, he lifted the branch away. She hissed in pain but never cried out. He tore a strip from his bandana and wrapped her ankle with practiced care. "You're lucky," he said. "Another hour in this heat and it could have been worse." She scoffed. "Luck didn't save me. You did. That doesn't mean I trust you." "I wouldn't expect you to," he replied. When he offered to help her stand, she tried on her own and nearly collapsed. Before she could protest, Cole lifted her into his arms. She stiffened, pride flaring but exhaustion won. His chest was warm, solid, steady beneath her cheek, and that unsettled her more than the pain. At his small ranch cabin, he set her down gently and fetched water. She watched him closely, noting the quiet way he moved, the absence of greed in his eyes. At last she spoke. "My name is Taya. I'm Apache." Cole nodded. "I'm Cole, and you're safe here." She studied him, searching for lies, finding none. Outside, the desert wind whispered through the grass as the first stars appeared. Neither of them said it aloud, but both felt it. Their meeting was no accident, and whatever had begun in that canyon would change them both forever. Night fell hard and fast over the plains, and with it came the storm. The wind rose first, rattling the walls of the cabin and whipping dust through the open land like a warning. Taya stood near the doorway, her ankles still aching but her posture strong, watching the sky darken. She had seen storms before, fierce ones, but something about this felt different, angrier, closer. Cole stepped outside to secure the horses. The first crack of thunder rolling like a drumbeat across the earth. Lightning split the sky, blinding white against the black clouds, and moments later the smell of smoke reached them both. Fire had caught along the ridge where dry brush clung to the rocks. Cole grabbed wet sacks and blankets, moving without hesitation. "We have to stop it before it reaches the cabin," he said. Taya followed him into the rain, despite his protest. Water soaked her hair and clothes, but she ignored the pain in her leg. Together, they beat at the flames, the heat stinging their skin while rain hissed against the fire. Wind drove sparks into the air, and for a moment, it felt like the land itself was testing them. Cole slipped on the wet ground, and Taya caught his arm, holding him steady. Their eyes met, breathless, rain streaming down their faces. "You fight like someone who belongs out here," he said, shouting over the storm. She gave a short, fierce smile. "The land does not scare me. People do." At last the fire weakened, beaten back into smoking embers. Exhausted, they returned to the cabin, dripping and shaking. Cole fed the fire inside, and its warmth wrapped around them. Taya sat close without thinking, her shoulder brushing his. The thunder faded into the distance, replaced by the soft crackle of wood and their uneven breathing. She studied him in the firelight, the scar on his jaw, the tired strength in his hands. "You live alone," she said quietly. It wasn't a question. "Been that way a long time," he answered. Taya nodded, understanding more than he realized. Loneliness had many shapes, and she recognized it in him as clearly as her own reflection in still water. She leaned closer, her voice low, steady. "A man like you should not face storms alone," she said. The words lingered between them, heavy with meaning, as the last of the thunder rolled away and the night grew calm. The sound of hooves shattered the quiet of the valley just after dawn. Cole was outside repairing a fence when he heard them. Too many. Riding hard, careless. Taya felt it too. She stepped out of the cabin, her body going still, eyes narrowing as dust rose in the distance. Memory and instinct tightened her chest. She knew that kind of arrival. 4 men rode into view, rough-looking trappers with unshaven faces and eyes that lingered too long. One of them laughed when he saw her standing beside the cabin. "Well, I'll be damned," he said. "Didn't think I'd find an Apache woman playing house with a rancher." Cole moved without thinking, placing himself slightly in front of her. "You're on private land," he said evenly. "Turn around and ride out." The leader's smile faded. "Or what?" His gaze slid back to Taya. "She belongs with her people. Or maybe she ran from them." Taya's hands clenched at her sides, anger burning hot, but before she could speak, Cole's voice cut in sharp and final. "She stays." The moment stretched thin as a blade. One man reached for his gun. The crack of the shot echoed off the canyon walls, sending birds screaming into the sky. Pain tore through Cole's shoulder as the bullet grazed him, spinning him back a step. He didn't fall. He raised his rifle and fired, forcing the men to scatter for cover. Everything happened fast then. Taya dropped to the ground, crawling through dust and chaos. She grabbed a fallen pistol, her grip steady despite her pounding heart. When one of the trappers charged toward Cole, she fired. The man collapsed, stunned more than wounded, and the others froze. They hadn't expected her to fight back. "Go!" she shouted, her voice fierce and unbroken. "Leave now." Fear replaced their arrogance. One by one they mounted their horses and fled, curses swallowed by distance. Silence returned, heavy and unreal. Taya rushed to Cole's side, pressing cloth against his bleeding shoulder. Her hands trembled now that the danger had passed. "You're hurt," she said, panic breaking through her strength. "It's nothing," he lied, teeth clenched. She looked at him, eyes shining with unshed tears and fury. "You stood between me and death," she whispered. "You didn't have to." "Yes, I did," he said softly. "Because I won't let anyone take you from here." As she helped him back toward the cabin, Taya understood something deep and frightening. This man had risked everything for her, and the bond between them had crossed a line neither of them could step back from. The evening settled gently over the land, as if the valley itself were catching its breath after the violence of the morning. The sky burned with deep oranges and soft purples, stretching endlessly above the quiet ranch. Cole sat on the cabin step, his injured shoulder wrapped tight, staring out at the horizon. Pain throbbed beneath the bandage, but it was nothing compared to the weight in his chest. He knew Taya would not stay forever. She belonged to the open land, to her people, and he had no right to ask her for more. Taya stood a short distance away, watching the sun sink behind the hills. The wind moved through her hair, carrying the scent of dust and wild grass. She felt the pull of 2 worlds inside her, the life she had lost and the life forming quietly beside this man, who had saved her more than once. She turned and walked toward him, each step certain. "You are thinking I will leave," she said. Cole didn't look at her at first. "You should," he answered honestly. "Your people will be looking for you." "They are strong," she replied. "They will survive." He finally met her gaze, surprised by the calm resolve in her eyes. "And you?" he asked. She stepped closer, her shadow falling across him. "I'm tired of surviving," she said softly. "I want to live." The word struck him harder than any bullet. Before he could respond, she reached out, resting her hand over his heart, feeling its steady beat beneath her palm. "You walk alone," she continued. "You work until the sun breaks you, and at night you sit with your silence. A man like you thinks this is strength. It is not." He swallowed, unable to deny it. "You need a woman like me for a wife," she said, her voice low but unwavering. "One who is not afraid of storms or blood or the hard truth. One who will stand beside you, not behind you." Cole stood slowly, his good hand brushing her fingers. "Taya," he murmured, "if you stay, it won't be easy." She smiled then, not wide, but real. "Easy has never been my path." When he kissed her, it was gentle at first, full of hesitation and wonder. The desert wind circled them, carrying away the last of his doubt. In that quiet moment, as the stars began to rise, Cole realized the ranch no longer felt empty. It felt like the beginning of something lasting, something fierce and true, built not from rescue but from choice.